In this video, we're going to cover a reasonable approach to playing and winning the board game Expeditions. This video is at a beginner to intermediate level of play, so if you're a grandmaster already, it might not help that much. If you watch this video through to the end, you should become a better player. Wow, this looks cool. I think I'll start by doing a bunch of quests. Everybody loves side quests. Cool. What? No advice? Well, games are all about having fun. If you want to do quests, you do you. But... sure, you're gonna lose, but if that's fun for you, you go for it. Why would you say that? Well, this is a race game, and starting out doing quests isn't gonna get you across the finish line fast enough. I think you've been playing too much Heat. This is not a race game. The first person to place these 4 glory stars ends the game and usually wins. Sounds like a race to me. Wait, I know how you talk. What do you mean by usually wins? Well, some glory categories are worth more than others. For example, if you meld 4 meteorites, you'll get about 20 points. If you upgrade 4 items, they're worth about 3 points apiece, or 12 points. If you collect 7 of these Vanquish tokens, they're worth 2 points apiece, for 14 points. Yeah, very good, but what are quests worth? Well, in and of themselves, your quests don't score. They do change the value of your glory tokens, however, so you'll need 2 or 3 quests to score well. Your 4th quest is literally worth nothing, but it does allow you to place a glory token. Fine, very good, but if I'm going to get 2 or 3 quests, why not go ahead and get 4? Score the token. Quests are particularly slow. You see, if I want to meld meteorites, I can go to any one of several meld locations and vanquish using my companion. Then, as soon as I've done vanquishing, I get to use the meld location 1 time. Then I can use my gather action and use the same location to meld again. I might even meld a 3rd time on my next turn. Whereas with quests, I have to move to a specific location where that quest can be solved, and then use my character to solve the quest, and before I can solve another quest, I'll have to move to a new location and refresh my character. It's a lot slower. But with quests, I don't have to vanquish corruption tokens. Yeah, I know, it's a shame, isn't it? What? Well, like I said before, if I'm melding meteorites, I can meld 2 or 3 meteorites all in one go without leaving a single location. And at the same time, I'm going to pick up a couple of these corruption tokens, which are worth 4 points all on their own, and I'm making progress toward the 7 corruption tokens goal. In the same amount of time, I might solve 1 quest and get nothing extra. It's why, if people are trying to rush quests, they're almost always going to take too long. And other people are going to get further, or at least just as far, on something like meteorites, which score more points. So the person who rushed quests, not only do they not finish particularly quickly, but they're behind in points. In any case, melding meteorites, solving quests, upgrading items, vanquishing corruption tokens, these are all things that are better left till later in the game. Because at the beginning of the game, you don't have enough guile, or power, or cards, or workers to do any of these things efficiently. Not to mention, all the sites you need to take these actions are hidden at the beginning of the game. So what should I do in the first half? Each of your starting cards has a pair of powerful abilities that can only be used once you have a matching worker. So getting those workers is the first order of business. After that, you might collect 8 cards, while simultaneously getting 5 map tokens, or occasionally getting more workers so that you have a total of 7. Why cards? If you want to score meteorites or items, you're going to have 4 cards of the same type. You'll also want to solve 2 or 3 quests, add in your 2 starting cards, and you need 8 or 9 cards to win the game. Given that you can get a glory token for owning 8 cards, why wouldn't you get the cards first? Just remember that once you meld a meteorite, or you upgrade an item, it no longer counts as being under your control, so go ahead and score the glory token before taking those actions. So I just hit the card draft location 6 times? That sounds dull. I wouldn't do it exactly like that. I'd intermix gaining cards with collecting map tokens, or maybe less often 7 workers. and I'd look for cards to speed up the process. Why not just get one thing done, scored, and out of the way? Just like Scythe, this game makes you alternate your actions. It does this in part by making you move at least every other turn. You also may need to refresh your cards between uses. And just like when I described the meld action, you can use the boast action much more efficiently if you have 2 glory tokens to place in a single visit. But you said I won't have enough guile or power to vanquish early on. Your guile and your power will slowly build up while you're rushing about, getting cards and collecting map tokens. You'll want to watch what corruption tiles get dealt onto each site so that you can find one you can afford and grab it before anyone else does. Maybe I could just vanquish one tile and come back for the other one later. Don't do it. You have to vanquish all of the corruption at a site to use your companion's special ability, and you're leaving an easy target for someone else. Not to mention, it just takes too long to move to a site, vanquish once, move away, gain some resources, move back, and vanquish a second time. What about the 7 workers goal? You'll need 8 cards, but 7 workers is more than you need, and rushing workers early can lead to a mismatch between the workers you need and the workers you actually have. Finally, the gather actions get better as you move further north, so the odd gather action you take while you're gaining map tokens will give you a slight advantage. Still, if I have all those workers, I won't have to refresh very often. Refreshing isn't a big cost in this game. It usually isn't a problem to refresh every 4 or 5 turns. But it's a race game. I can't do anything when I refresh. In a normal turn, you get to take 2 of your 3 possible actions, and you've always got to take the action you skipped last time. In the turn after a refresh, you get to take all 3 actions. So over 2 turns, you're only missing out on 1 action. Further, the strategic value of getting back your best cards and being able to play all 3 actions at once often makes up for that 1 lost action. So why would you ever go for 7 workers if you don't think it helps very much? Because it might be easy. Some of the character cards allow you to pick up extra workers. If you have one of these, you might consider rushing workers while you're picking up cards. If I'm getting all my cards early, how do I know which ones to take? Your character card might make one category easier to get. Each of these leaders collects one category of card. If you have one of these, you'll probably want to collect 4 of that category and eventually score it. But this character gathers quests, and you said I shouldn't go for quests. Normally no, but Anna makes quests far more attractive. First off, she helps you gather the cards you need very quickly. And then, once you start solving quests, you can use Wojtek to rescue Anna so that she can solve 2 quests without refreshing in between. But still, I'd gather map tokens and cards before undertaking the quests. If nothing else, you need to know where all those quest locations are. I'm starting to feel like your advice might depend on some complicated set of factors you're not disclosing. There aren't truly hard and fast rules in a game like this. With the right cards, you might have to change your approach, and that's a good thing. You don't want a boring game that's always the same. Stepping back a bit, which cards should I take if my character doesn't help me gain cards of any specific category? Meteorites score the most points, so maybe you should get 4 of those. If you can't get enough meteorites, you might want to look at items. There are always a lot of quest cards about because they're the most plentiful cards in the deck. No matter what you do, remember to take a look at the card's color and its special ability. Okay, fine. Scored these 2 categories during the opening. What do I do in the mid-game? There is no mid-game. Excuse me, but is this like that there is no spoon thing? Once somebody's scored 2 glory tokens, and especially if they have the 8 or 9 cards they need to win, the end game is upon you. This game has a beginning and an end, but no middle. Why is that? Once somebody has glory stars in these 2 categories, they have everything they need to win the game, with the possible exception of power and guile. Once they have 2 glory stars, each of their companion and their character generate 3 power and or guile each time they're played. They will quickly fall into a pattern of vanquishing on one turn while simultaneously tucking cards under their mech board. In the next turn, they will finish a quest with their character. They might have to take 1 extra turn to gather more resources, and then they will refresh and repeat before completing a final vanquish to score their last 2 glory tokens to finish the game. You seem to assume that everyone will score 7 vanquish tokens. To gain access to the boast, meld, or corruption sites you need, you'll get pretty close to 7 corruption tiles already. All you have to do is score them. Okay, I start to get the basic idea. First, I get a couple workers that match my opening cards. Then, I collect map tokens and cards until I get enough to score those 2 glory categories. At that time, I'll vanquish to get my first few tokens and score those categories. Then, I'll probably need to rack up some more guile and power so that I can meld my first 2 meteors. After that, I refresh, rinse, repeat, do it again, before finally vanquishing one last time and placing my last 2 glory tokens to win the game. But how does it go wrong? Like most things, the biggest problem is other people. For example, they might block the worker sites so that you can't get the workers you need. In a 5-player game, this problem becomes extreme. What do I do if that happens? You might grab your first choice of cards, but it won't help much until you get a matching worker. Alternately, you could grab a few map tokens while you're waiting to get workers, but your play actions will be weak and inefficient. People can really camp out on the worker sites early in a game. As 5th player in a 5-player game, you might wait till your 5th or 6th turn before getting the first worker you need. But if I'm the 5th player, what do I do? In a 5-player game, my best advice is don't go 5th. That isn't helpful. In a 5-player game, you might use player order as a kind of handicap. Put the weaker players earlier in the play order. Besides being unable to get workers early, what else can go wrong? Everyone ought to know that meteorites are the biggest scoring opportunities, so it might be pretty hard to get 4 of them, or perhaps all the available meteorites score things you don't have. If you can't get the meteorites you need, you might have to shift to something else. In a 4 or 5-player game, even map tokens get rare, which might make you reconsider about getting 7 workers. Finally, with everyone rushing around at the end of the game, you might have a hard time coming up with 7 vanquish tokens. The answer to that is to let your power and guile build up and take down this bad boy. So I can vanquish this tile in 1 action, then immediately use the boast action to score. That seems OP as hell. It is, but be careful. Someone who collects 7 vanquish tokens gets 2 points apiece, or 14 points, plus whatever they get for their glory token. If you take down this, you get 2 points, plus whatever you get for your glory token. Securing this tile might be a way to ensure your defeat. Not to mention, it's a real shame if you're counting on getting this and someone else gets there first. Shouldn't we talk about the various characters and mechs and all this other stuff? That brings us to the speed round! With Akiko and Jiro, you want to collect meteorites. You also want to gain a powerful card that you can copy with Jiro. Note that Jiro isn't useful for copying Akiko because Akiko's ability will place a meteorite behind her and Jiro will copy that card. Tatanka might be a good choice of mech because melding 5 meteorites is very good, and Akiko might be the only character with a reasonable chance of getting 5 meteorites. With Matthew and Caesar, you want to gain a green worker right away so Matthew can supply the needed yellow worker. Then you want to use Caesar's special ability to quickly collect map tokens. Don't forget to pick up cards as well. Odin's Wrath has to be the best choice of mech because this pair can get more map tokens than anyone else. Using Odin's Wrath to convert map tokens into power or guile can make a huge difference in your first few vanquish actions. With Anna and Wojtek, I'd go for quests. There are always lots of quests around, so you should pick up 4 pretty easily, and you can be picky about their locations, costs, and rewards. Because Wojtek can rescue Anna, you can finish those quests quicker, and you might even do so early on, assuming you still have 8 cards. If you score map tokens, cards, quests, and a 20-point corruption tile, you might only score 42 points, so you have to be very quick. You must close out the game before anyone else gets to 40 points, but it's possible with Anna. Marsh Strider might help you zip around the map, solving quests. With Vesta and Voltan, you're going to collect items faster than anyone else, and you should aim to collect 8 cards and then upgrade 4 items. Map tokens might also be preferred as Voltan has more options when he's standing in the central part of the board. The rest of your strategy is very situational. Voltan's special ability is one of the most powerful in the game, but you have to stay aware of what cards are face up to use it well. This pair might work well with any mech depending on how you use Voltan's ability. Gunter and Noct are experts at vanquishing. Gunter can help you pick up workers for Noct and other green cards, while Noct can pick up extra power and guile in the early game. Once you place a few stars, Noct can gather 2 guile and 4 power by copying Gunter's core value. That's so good that you might want to pick up a different vanquish card so that Noct can sometimes gather resources during the end game. The best mech might be Lumberjack, which would make you a vanquishing pro. Olga and Chenga are consummate resource gatherers. You should use Olga's ability to gain blue workers and Chenga's ability to copy gather benefits to max out workers and cards more quickly than anyone else can. From there, you can accelerate the endgame by letting Chenga copy a resource set every now and then, especially if you've picked up another card that has the Vanquish ability. Several mechs work well here, but maybe not Odin's Wrath, because this character might not race to collect map tokens. That's about it. At least until the expansions drop. There's an expansion coming? Jamie Stegmaier. Yeah, I get you. Thanks for watching. So why do you think anyone would watch this stuff? Well, maybe they're a new player. Or maybe, like us, they've just got a lot of games in their collection and sometimes games don't make it to table for a while. Strategy refresher might be useful. Yeah, I meet a lot of really good gamers who don't appreciate how much depth there is to some of these new games because they never play a new game more than once or twice. But you know, some people might just watch us blather because they like board games. They want something to watch. Someone like that might have their own ideas on strategy. Wouldn't it be cool if they wrote them down in the comments? We might learn something. It's possible. Who knows? They might even subscribe.
You're not rid of me yet, darlings!